Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Waharakah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, I want to speak about dying, the afterlife, all right, because it's a funny thing, because these goofy Christians, right, beginning with Esau, Edom, they don't really care about the afterlife. They care about life now. All right. And this is why the world is the way it is. These people are willing to do all manner of wickedness to justify pleasures received through their lusts. All right. These people are not willing to suffer for the sake of righteousness in this life. All right. But these are the same people that claim that the religion they believe in is about the afterlife, like it promises you life thereafter. So it's hella confused, right? But nevertheless, right, the idea of salvation in Christianity, I should say, Salakia, is based around if you get hit by a truck, right, and splattered all over the ground, right, where does your soul go? Where does your spirit go? Because according to Christianity, well, depending on the on the um on the dogma. So there's two notions. So you got the three places and the two places, which all of these go back to Greek mythology. All right. So two places, heaven or hell. So if you've been good, all right, you believe in Jesus, you are gonna go to heaven and live happily ever after in heaven, whatever that means. You're gonna be floating around like a mist. Everybody's a mist. They depict white angels, but then when you say that the Bible describes God as being a so-called black man, or the image of a so-called black man, all of a sudden God is a spirit, so he's mist. Confused. But anyway, right, so you're gonna be chilling with the so-called, for some reason these angels look like a human being that's lacking in melanin, right? So they're just pasty. You be all up in heaven with them, doing whatever, singing hymns or whatever it is you be doing, which most of these people don't want to do, right? And or if you've been bad, you're gonna go down. You're going down to hell with Satan and the demons. And we're not quite sure, is this a spiritual place? Is this a physical place? Can you dig down into hell? I don't know. All right, whatever. You're going to go to hell, right? And when you're in hell, eternally, you're going to be burning and whatever other punishment they can imagine for you added on, okay? So the two places you can go. So the fair factor is, believe in Jesus, give the church your money, because it's an insurance policy. You don't want to die, you don't want to get struck by lightning, and then you end up in hell for all eternity, because God is love and God is merciful, but that's just how he gets down according to Christianity. He's an all merciful, all loving God that loves everybody, but if you do 30 years of evil, he's going to punish you with an eternity of hell. Okay, that's how they, don't ask me for logic, that's how they break it down. Okay, so you got the only difference is with Catholicism, you got purgatory, which is like an intermediate type thing. We ain't gonna go deep into it, you could Google it. You got the purgatory type thing, wherever they got that from. Okay, and so when you're dealing with these goofy Christians, right, this is when you're talking about salvation, that's what they're talking about. Now when we talk about salvation, we're talking about deliverance from sin. We're talking about deliverance from the day of judgment. We're talking about nationally, the elect being delivered and the kingdom of heaven being established on earth. All right, being delivered from the hands of our enemies. All these things which can be found in the scriptures. that encompass the salvation that the Messiah is bringing. These are real things that are going to affect our lives on earth. All right, it's going to affect earth and the way the so-called human story is unfolding on earth. Okay, nothing to do with the afterlife. It's all to do with here on earth. Okay, so that's what we deal with. So this is the thing. If you read the scriptures, right, the ideology that Christianity has and that they push in all the movies and in the churches cannot be found in the Old Testament whatsoever. Dying and going to hell or dying and going to heaven, as extreme as those things may be, are never discussed in the Old Testament scriptures. Now, you would think a punishment as severe as burning in hell for all eternity would be spoken of more than captivity. That, I mean, if you say to me, which is worse, going into captivity or burning in hell for eternity, I would say, well, if you're going to warn me of anything, warn me of that. Warn me about burning in hell for all eternity, because that seems to be, I mean, you're in captivity. You're only in captivity till you die, right? I mean, it's not that bad. But if I'm going to die and go, okay, tell me about that. Yet Moses never, ever, 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 nor any of the prophets warned about dying and going to hell, or warned about, or said, well, you know what, your reward is you're going to die and go to heaven. Everything they prophesied were things that were going to happen on earth. So I typed into Google, did Moses teach about going to hell? And this is what the AI says. It says, while Moses warned about the dangers of death and the grave, right? The dangers of death and the grave, and what comes with that, getting chopped up by swords, you know what I mean? Arrow to the head top, disease. There's various ways. Famine. It's not about dying itself. Dying itself, it's everything leading up to your death that's really terrible. The actual act of dying is okay, cool. It's more affects people you know rather than you. Once you're dead, you don't feel no pain and all that. It's how you die that really matters most, doesn't it? Or what, or the terror you feel knowing that you're gonna die. Like them dudes that's on death row for 7 years, it's terrible for them counting down those days. All right. It says, while Moses warned, the worst things that can happen to you is what happens to you when you're alive. Okay. That's hell. If you don't believe me, go watch one of them Mexican execution videos where their man are begging to be killed. Why are they begging to die? They're begging to die because they're getting tortured, man. Man are peeling the skin off their face, man. That's hell. But anyway, while Moses warned about the dangers of death and the grave, the Hebrew scriptures, so when they say Hebrew scriptures, they're talking about the law and the prophets. The Hebrew scriptures don't say much about suffering after death. No, they don't. They speak about suffering while you're alive. They speak about generational suffering, which brings in reincarnation. But it doesn't specifically tell you, okay, because you've done this great sin, you're going to go to hell and suffer in hell forever. No, every time the Israelites, judgment came on the Israelites, it was never a case where there wouldn't be a redemption for them. Do you see? Now, if you're going to burn in hell forever, where is the redemption? That's it, right? You're just in hell now. According to Christian doctrine, there's dudes from the flood that's been burning ever since the flood happened, and they're going to be burning forever. Insane. Anyway, the Hebrew scriptures don't say much about suffering after death. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't... What? Listen. That has got to be the biggest thing. If that was an actual thing where you're going to burn in hell for eternity, that would be up front. That would be shouted just the same way Christianity makes that the biggest thing now, because they were trying to sell absolution from sins. That's really what it goes back to. Fear mongering people to give up their money for absolution from sins. That's where it goes back to. And Greek mythology. That, you see, the same way Christianity puts that at the forefront. Don't you think the prophets would have put that at the forefront? Don't you think the Lord would have put that at the forefront if that was an actual thing? That would have been the number one thing to warn. Listen, bro, if you don't keep these laws, it's peak for you. And then what about the other nations? Because they weren't under the old covenant and they weren't given the laws. Were they just that's it? They would just go into hell? There's a lot of questions to be asked, isn't there? These guys are clowns, man. Instead, the Old Testament's equivalent to hell, listen to this, the Old Testament's equivalent to hell is God's punishment called cursed. What is hell? Hell is living a cursed existence on the earth. Where are the curses of the Lord exacted? They are exacted on earth. They're not exacted in the afterlife. Even though when you die, you come back, you can come back into that curse. You come back where? On earth. On earth is where the curses are. Case in point. If we go to Deuteronomy 28th chapter and we look at the curses of Israel, right? Let's see which one of these curses happens to you after you're dead. So we're just going to read. Right? So let's just pick some curses here. Okay, so, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I commanded thee this day, that you're going to burn in hell forever after you die. That's what it should say, but it doesn't. It says that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. It says, cursed shalt thou be in the city. Where's the city? Is the city in the afterlife? No, the city is here while you're alive. That's where hell is. That city is going to become hell to you. And cursed shalt thou be in the field. Is the field in the afterlife? No. Cursed shalt be thy basket and thy store. Is your basket and your store in the afterlife? No. Right? Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Is the fruit of your body in the afterlife? No. Right? And the fruit of thy land. Is your land in the afterlife? No. The increase of thy kind. Is your kind in the afterlife? No. And the flocks of thy sheep. Is your flocks or your sheep in the afterlife? No. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand to do. To do where? On earth. Until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. See, there's no mention of afterlife. I mean, even if we go to the blessings, there's no mention of afterlife. Oh, if you keep my laws, you're going to be with me in heaven forever. No. All right. This is not a thing. This was invented by Christianity and borrowed from Greek and pagan mythology. This is not a thing in the scriptures. I'm not saying heaven is not a thing. It is a thing. But heaven is not a thing as a place of reward. Heaven in the scriptures is not a place of reward. When I say heaven, I'm talking about the third heaven. It's not a place of reward. It's not, you don't get rewarded by going to the spirit realm. The reward is always on earth. That's why when they asked the Lord what their reward that shall be, what did the Lord say? He that, forsook lands, he gonna get lands. He that forsook mother and father, he gonna get all the physical things that you sacrifice now for righteousness' sake, you're gonna receive in the kingdom, because the kingdom is on earth. The reward that we're gonna receive may be laid up as a treasure in heaven, meaning it's with the Lord, his commandment, but it's going to be manifested here on earth. It's never been about dying and going to heaven. It's about heaven being down here. The kingdom of heaven. A blessed state of life. Goodness gracious, man. Let's read some more of these curses. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, with a fever. Where you get fever at? In hell? In what you call hell? No, yeah. Listen, when you get a fever, you might as well be in hell. Listen, you know what? You ever remember the first time you had a fever and you can remember? Yo, you feel like hell. You feel like hell. Even when you got children, you feel like hell watching your children go through sickness and go through a fever. For you brothers, and the few sisters that are listening, you know what I'm talking about. When your child is sick, you almost want to take that sickness onto yourself, because children, you don't want to see your child sick. That's like hell. They're all blocked up and they can't breathe and they start doing all that and shit, and you're like, yeah, I know how that feels. And you don't want them to feel like that. That's hell. What else we got here? And with an inflammation, so you're getting inflammation in hell, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword. So where's that at? And with the blasting and the mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. What does it mean by perish? Die. Because this is where you die. You don't die in the spirit realm. And thy heaven, because death here represents your flesh dying. In the spirit world, nothing dies. Here, your flesh dies because it decomposes and break up. The spiritual bodies, the celestial bodies, don't decompose. Yeah? They're not temporal. And thy heaven that is over thy head, meaning the sky, shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. That means you're catching hell in terms of the weather, your land, your agriculture. This is on earth. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. Now I'm not going to read all these curses, but I can promise you every single fruit of thy land, every single smiting the knees, every single curse, plant vineyards, someone else is going to take them, blah blah blah. Every single curse is something which happens on earth while you are alive in the flesh. There is not one mention of being punished eternally after death, which is why it says here, while Moses warned about the dangers of death and the grave, the Hebrew scriptures don't say much about suffering after death. No, they don't, because the afterlife wasn't a thing the way these people are making it into a thing. The afterlife wasn't somewhere you went to be punished. All right? Instead, the Old Testament equivalent to hell is God's punishment. So when did hell come about the way Christians talk about it then? Why wasn't it about when Moses was bringing forth the truth to the Israelites? Why did Moses tell the Israelites about the fact that if they break the laws, that they're going to burn in hell forever? According to you, that's a fact. Why was Moses keeping that from them? Don't you think that's important information? Don't you think that's need to know information? Joke thing. It said the Old Testament equivalent to hell is God's punishment called cursed. The punishment is described as so severe that it removes God's blessing and leaves only the consequences of sin. And what's the consequences of sin? Well, you read the curses. Basically, bad shit happens to you. Yeah? Here are evil, Here are some things Moses said about God. Moses described God as a judge of the earth. Moses described God as consuming fire of judgment. Because this is where you get burnt up. This is where, like that woman the other day on the train, she got burnt up. She got burnt alive. She was in pain. Spirits don't get burnt. Your flesh gets burnt with you in it. So I just wanted to make this point, man. Read the scriptures, right? And really look at what's in the scriptures, and you compare it to what these Christians teach. You will find that there is no continuity or consistency between the law and the prophets and Christian doctrine. They only twist certain scriptures they read in the New Testament for their own gain. But how do you know that they're twisting the scriptures? Because the Church of Berea searched the scriptures daily to see if the things that Paul and them were teaching is true. The understanding in the New Testament writings has to be harmonious with the Old Testament writings, because it's one doctrine, it's one truth. There's no way in the entirety of the Old Testament that this afterlife of heaven and hell wasn't mentioned. This is insane. These men made it up. They made up. It's a dogma. And that's why they don't understand when we tell them about ruling over the other nations. Why do you think? Why do you think it? Let's get to it. Revelations 2:25 said, "But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations." Why is this even mentioned in the scriptures if the goal is just to go to heaven? No, because the goal has never been just to go to heaven. The goal has always been to restore Israel to their position of royal rulership over the earth in righteousness, man. And that's why it says what it says right here. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to. Where they gonna be broken to shivers? Here on earth, in the flesh, not in the spirit. Even as I received of my Father. Right? And you got Revelations, the 5th chapter. It shall reign in the earth. I mean, what are we doing? Revelations 5:10, and has made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. So what's all this afterlife business all about? It's BS. Now, when you die, does your spirit go to the spirit realm, to the third heaven? Yes, the scripture tells you that. The spirit of man goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast goeth downward. But it's not a place of torment. And the scriptures tell you that in the book of Job. There the oppressor and the oppressed are at peace. No, but you are going to be judged, and then you come back down here to face judgment. And that's why he repays the sins in the 3rd and 4th generation. So you could live out a life of wickedness and die, and you think you got away with it because you died. You didn't get away with it, because you're going to come back on the earth and you're going to suffer judgment. And you're going to be like, why are these things happening to me? Yeah, because that's why they said to the Lord, who have sinned? Was it this man or his parents? But he was born paralyzed. So how could he have sinned? Why? Because he could have sinned in his last life. And the Lord kept it on his spiritual tab, and he's paying for it in the next life. And you Edomites, you're going to pay for it. If you die on this side, you're going to pay for it in the next life, because you're going to come back in slavery, man. That's why the scripture says, Revelations, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. It didn't say he that leadeth into captivity shall go burn in hell somewhere in the spirit. No, they're going to go into captivity. So what does that mean? Like these Edomites are going to go into slavery. But what if they die? That's okay. They're going to come back and be born into slavery, just like we were born into slavery as punishment. Anyway, just a thought I had. Read the scriptures, man. That's why if you ain't read the whole Bible, yeah, watch the breakdowns and all that, precept upon precept. That's the next level. But you must have a working knowledge of the Bible. I would suggest everyone read the entire Bible as a narrative. And once you read it as an entire narrative, a lot of this bullshit that Christianity tries to pull, you will see that, hold on, it don't make no sense. It's a plot hole. It don't make no sense. It's not consistent. Okay? So if that, I'm going to say shalom.